Well, after months of not having live-action Star Wars, we finally have another show. Or if you're like me, you're being forced to watch it through the sunk cost fallacy and are just wishing that Disney would stop making these things as half of them suck. And like most of these shows, it started off with a 2-episode premiere. So I'm going to go over these episodes, and yes, there will be spoilers as I'm going to recap them and tell you if they are worth watching. And if you want to avoid spoilers and just want to hear my thoughts on it without spoilers, I will put a warning on screen as well as a timestamp to skip to. Before we start talking about the show itself, we should probably talk about the setting, as it takes place around 100 years before the prequels, which means, unlike other shows, if you haven't seen something, you won't be lost. This could be your first ever thing Star Wars you have watched, and you'll understand it pretty fine. You might be a little lost on some things, but that's just the nature of a franchise that's been going on for over 40 years. Mostly it's a clean slate, so you should be fine. Now, this time setting isn't completely new to Star Wars. It is, however, new to stuff that isn't books or comics, as everything else has just been covering the same 60-year time span for the last 40 years. So aside from the books and comics and like half a second from Jedi Survivor, this time period is pretty unexplored unless you are a very big fan of Star Wars. So, for those who aren't, aka most people watching this show takes place during an era of Star Wars called the High Republic, which was the height of the Jedi Order, and takes place from around 500 years before the prequels to when this show is happening, which is around the end of it. At least that's my understanding of it. I'm a little behind on my books and comics in Star Wars. So, with the preamble out of the way, let's get into episode 1, entitled Lost and Found. The episode begins with a woman challenging Jedi Trinity from the Matrix to a fight. Obviously, that's not her actual name, but I forgot her character name, but it doesn't really matter, as she is quickly killed off. We then cut to the next day as we see the woman who appears to be the assassin, who we later learn is named Osha, as she is working on fixing a ship, where she is then visited by a Jedi named Yord and his Padawan, and we find out that Osha and Yord used to be friends before she left the Jedi Order. Osha is then arrested for the murder of Trinity, and she is then put on a ship with prisoners. The prisoners then escape, and she is left on the ship as it crashes towards a planet. Her old master, Jedi Master Soul, and Yord, as well as another Jedi, are then sent to track down Osha. Osha then hallucinates her dead twin sister, and takes this to mean that she's alive and is the assassin. The Jedi then find Osha, and she tells them about her theory. They believe her. The episode ends with Osha's twin sister, who we later learn is named May, visiting her master alongside a cliff, and for no reason aside to show the audience, he then ignites his lightsaber to show us he is a Sith. Before we get on to episode 2, I'd like to ask you to consider to like and subscribe. A very small percentage have subscribed. It would really help out. Thank you. Let's get back to the video. Episode 2 begins with May trying to kill another Jedi, but she is unsuccessful and is seen by the rest of the Jedi. This attempt alerts the Jedi that Osha isn't indeed the assassin, as she is already being with the other Jedi that were sent to get her. So the rest of the Jedi, being Soul, Yord, and Daphne Keen, forgot who the hell her Jedi name is, so I'm just going to call her X-23, as well as Osha, to go find May and stop her. Afterwards, May then goes to see this guy in order to get some poison in order to kill the Jedi. The man then tells her that her master needs her to kill a Jedi without a weapon. May then says that she has 2 more Jedi to kill after this one, and that she will kill one of them without a weapon. She then goes and is able to poison the Jedi, and she is then quickly followed by the group, who don't see her but are hot on her trail. They then find her poison supplier and go to question him, and he immediately sells her out. The group confront her, but she's able to escape right after finding out that Osha is also alive. So that was the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, and maybe it's because I went into this with such low expectations, but I thought it was pretty good. Like I said before, the only reason I checked this out is because the sunk cost fallacy makes me watch everything Star Wars even when I really don't like something. So, based off the trailers, this did not look like it was going to be good. It just looked like it was going to be more generic Disney stuff, which the last few Disney Star Wars things I have liked, including Ahsoka, which I really liked, but for some reason, I just have been very sick of Disney Star Wars, and this just kind of got the blunt of it when this was coming out. But I did indeed give it a shot, and because of the very low expectations, it did end up surprising me and be pretty good in my eyes. However, it's not perfect. There still are some flaws. Not the type of flaws that I could really point out fixes for, or really even point out, really just in kind of the way the story is told and the mood. I probably could fix what problems I have with this if I knew the rest of the story, but I don't. So for now, it's just kind of me not fully being invested into the story quite yet. But that could go away with later episodes, or I could find out why that is. I don't really know yet. But, as it is, I would give Episode 1 a 7 out of 10 and Episode 2 a 6 out of 10. Episode 1 is just a little better in my eyes because I do like the mystery aspect. I would say go ahead and start watching this, but with most Disney shows, they all seem to start out good but tend to get pretty bad towards the end. Granted, that problem is usually way worse with Marvel shows, as Star Wars shows tend to be a little bit better at it, but nonetheless, I would probably wait for the season to end in 7 weeks and hear reviews on whether or not the ending is good. Maybe not spoilers, just quality-wise, and if it is good, then check out the whole season. But if you don't feel like waiting, I feel like these first 2 episodes are good enough, and if it keeps up quality, I do think this will be a pretty good show. Not the best Star Wars show, but it will still be pretty good, and this is planned for multiple seasons, so I do feel like future seasons could improve, or maybe this season alone will improve, and this could just be the best Star Wars show ever. It's kind of hard to judge, but based off these first 2 episodes, I'm not really feeling it great. But that's about it. I do plan on doing reviews for each episode as they come out, but if I can't do that for whatever reason, I will definitely, hopefully, do a review for the whole season once it's wrapped up. So if you want to see that, stick around, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next time, as this has been Dustin, aka Drexlord. Later, haters.